Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today we're going to start on the F7 Kawasaki. We're going to see if we can come up with some steering head bearings. I want to try to, if possible, I want to try to do a conversion to the Timken type bearings. And we just need to, I've already got them pulled out, so we need to measure, and we need to look at the listing to see what is close, and then we'll see if we can get them and see if we can get them to fit. So come on along for the ride. All right, take a look at what we've got here. I've got the triple tree off, of course. If you've been following the channel, you remember when I did that. And these are, near as I can tell, are the same except for one of the races. The big one is measuring 4604, 4607, and let's see here what the diameter is. Probably 30 or 29, and 29. These are the only ones that are different. They 45, 45, and the difference should be here at 28 and 25. So first thing we need to do is find out our thickness, and in order to do that, I'm going to take the least worn one. This one here is really worn here on the inside, and we just need to put a few balls back into the race so we can get a measurement for the thickness. I don't want to put grease in them if I can help it, but okay. So that, you can see, I think there's a little gap there now. So that, it's important to put those balls in there so you can, and I'm getting about 12 millimeter. It may be a little bit more than that. I'm kind of getting that, yeah. I'm going to call it 12 millimeter. The other one should be about the same. Let me go ahead and just pop that one in here too. Try to get these spread out a little bit more. I really didn't want to put grease in it, but all right, try this other race. See what that one looks like. Yeah, we're at about 12. Okay, so let me hide these back in the bag. I'm not seeing anything out there listed for them, and these are just not a very good way to do things, but that's what we've got. If we have to, I guess we'll just put them back in, but we're going to see what we can do. Let's see here. I've got a listing. Okay, this is the chart from All Balls Racing, and I've come up with the closest ones that I can come up with. The upper one with a 25 millimeter ID, a 46 OD, and a 13 on the width. And the lower one is a 28 ID, 46 OD, and 13 millimeter width. So these are really showing to be the same, except we're off a millimeter on the width on both of them. So that means we're off 2 millimeters. I don't know whether we can overcome that or not. But I've got a set, and that's what we just went through. And these do come with the seal, which that's going to also increase the depth a little bit, or the thickness a little bit. And like I said, really the only difference of these is the thickness. Well, those don't want to come out of there. Huh, I think I see what they're doing now. All right. So we may or may not be able to use these, but they do come with them. Let's take a look at one here, and yeah, it's not as bad as it seemed. Okay, we're at 1214 approximately. So I think that goes like this. So if we measure that, okay, there we're at our 13 and a quarter almost. So we may not be able to use these, but we will certainly give it a try. Now, the difference, let's see, I think okay, this is the upper one then. It's tied up there on the top. So let's get the other one out here. The 27 must be the lower then. Okay, so we've got to get the seal down and the bearing on. So let me find something that I can pipe or something I can drive this on with, and we'll get back with it. Okay, after a little looking here, I found a piece of 1-inch black pipe, and it's real close to fitting only the inside here. That's only where you want. So I'm going to take it over to the lathe, and I'm going to trim off a little bit of the OD so that I'm not banging on the cage. We don't want to bang on the cage. So I'll just take off a little bit down here so that we can keep from doing that. And this piece just happens to be long enough that I can slide that over. And at that point, I'll need to trim off the threaded portion and just put a little cap on the top of it to hammer on. So let me get to that. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and face the very bottom of it just so that we can make sure we've got a good flat surface there. I honestly probably use a lathe more for making driving items like this than just about anything, but it sure does come in handy. You know, you certainly use it, you know, for other things also, but sure use a lot for this. Okay. And now we need to just, the first few, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. We need to trim this down a little bit just so we're not beating on the cage. That's probably good. Okay, let me kind of clean that up a little bit. And let me grab that bearing and we'll just see what it looks like. Oh yeah, it looks good. All right, so really the only thing I have to do is we'll pull that off, or pull it out of the lathe, turn it around, cut it off, and put a cap on this end. Okay, let's go ahead and cut this off. Well, I dumped over my oil here, so kind of regroup. Well, that old pipe is cutting pretty good. Usually that stuff doesn't cut worth a darn. There we go. Just take it over to the lathe and kind of clean it up. Don't need to, but I just kind of keep all this stuff around so the next time maybe I won't have to make one. that's probably good. I don't want to take all the weld off. So we'll just kind of deburr it a little bit and call it good. And for driving the races in to the frame, I've got this one. This is one that I'd made before, and it's really, really close. It's just a little bit too big here at the bottom, so I'll just put it in the lathe and cut off just a little bit of this so that this will drive this all the way into the frame. I think you can probably see that it's a little bit bigger than the race. We need it actually to be just a little bit smaller, just so it'll go on into the frame. Okay, our race is right at 46 millimeter. So we need this just to be a little bit smaller than that. I'm at 46.21. So I need to remove just a little bit more. Okay, took another cut. And let's see what we got here. Having a little trouble getting around the camera here. Okay, 45.81. So we're just under the 46 millimeters. So that will drive in because it needs to actually go into the race area on the frame. So we'll just kind of deburr that a little bit. So you see there, you make one from one you made before for something else, and all you have to do is just trim it down a little bit. One thing I'll point out too is right here, since I had such a bumpy weld back here, I had to put some aluminum on here to jack that up to get it out of there in order for this to turn semi-straight. So sometimes you just have to adapt and overcome. You've heard me say it before. I think it's a Marine Corps thing, and a very good one at that. All right. We've got the frame turned upside down here. This is where this next one needs to go. And we'll just clean that out. Make sure there's no debris underneath it where it's going to sit. And let's see if I can hold this. Okay, it acts like it wants to start okay. And the taper should go like that. So we'll take our mandrel here. All right, sounds like it's home. See, it's recessed just a little bit below that. That's why we needed to get this a little bit smaller than the race itself. All right. Okay, same thing with the top one. Get her cleaned up good. You know, those are different. Yeah, they are. The race, it's the same in the diameter, but this bearing is much smaller because where it fits, so this actually is thicker. I didn't notice that at first. Okay, that one actually protrudes up a little bit. I'm looking here and it's all the way down, and it actually does stick up a little bit. But I guess that's okay. We'll see. Maybe, these may not work at all, but it's the closest thing I could come up with from the chart. Okay, so we've got the seal on here, and we've got the bearing sitting there. So we'll go ahead and drive this one home. Sounds down to me. Let me give it another whack just to make sure. And see, there again, we had just get it small enough where it wasn't touching the cage. Yep, sounds good. Okay, so that one's on, and next I'll have to get the frame over here. Okay, let's see what we have now. Okay, we've got our new bearing installed here. Slide that up, and we do have the seal on there. And we take the new bearing here, slide it in, get our seal. It's a good fit. And the cover and the nut. And we'll just snug it up just a little bit. Oh, that's nice. Those type bearings, the tapered Temkin bearings are great. Okay, get our top on. And one thing I can tell you is that there is a little difference there as far as how far that comes down, but I don't think it's enough to mess with. It's, I think you can see there, let me get a pointer. All right. It used to be right about there, so about a 1/16 of an inch down from the top. And now it's about an 1/8. So there's still plenty of room. You can see the length on the bolt to hold that down. So those are going to work just fine. Yes. That's a nice feel to that. I just like, of course they'll get bumpy too, but these, they're not near like the ball bearings are. It's just a better. They have more of a surface area, so you're less apt to run into that bumpy feeling. But I think it's a go. Like I say, it's about an 1/8 of an inch instead of a 1/16 up here. But I think once this could actually be tightened a little more. I don't have any grease on them. So I think it's fine. So what I'll do is I'll I'll give you the numbers and everything. So if you've got an F7 or an F6, for sure, both of them should work. Okay, the numbers I came up with, again, are 99, 3527-5, and 99, 3526-5. So those should work okay on either one of those. And if you're looking for bearings for not just a Kawasaki or any of these Jap bikes, I'm not affiliated with All Balls Racing, but I almost always use their bearings in the steering. And they have this chart online. If you just go to their website, and you can measure your ID, your OD, and check your width. And remember, when you check the width, to put a couple balls in there, actually 4 if you can, and then squeeze it together, then measure. And that should give you a very close measurement. And like I said, these were not exact. You saw that the measurement that I had was around 12, and I mean, these are the same, the 46, 25, and let's see, this one here was 28, 46. But both of these were 13 millimeters width, and they're working just fine. Like I said, it's about a 1/16 of an inch difference inside, you know, when you put the top triple clamp on, like I showed you. But that's not enough to cause an issue. It's just not. So go ahead. I mean, once you put the fork tubes in and you tighten them all up, you tighten this down, tighten your pinch bolt, everything's golden. Should be no problem at all. So give them a try. Go to their website. It's kind of, it's hard to find the chart, but it's on the main page, right at the top, all the way to the right, if I remember right. And it just says something like seal and bearing charts or something like that. You'll get the gist if you go to it. Okay guys, there you have it. We measured up our bearings for our F7 Kawasaki. We've got the All Balls Racing tapered bearings, and these were not listed by application. Matter of fact, I think when I went onto the site and looked for something for an F7, it wouldn't even let me put in 1971. I want to say it started at 84 or something like that. So, you know, just pop your old ones out, measure them like I showed you, and even though things are off a little bit, that doesn't mean they're not going to work. You know, it's aftermarket, they're doing the best they can. I'm sure that they've got to sell a lot of bearings in order to make these special like this. But anyhow, we got the bearings installed, we tried them, we made a couple of installation tools, and you don't have to go to all the work that I went to. If you can find just a piece of pipe and take a grinder and just grind off a little bit of the, so that you're not hitting the cage of the bearing, or if you need to get into you know, the frame when you're driving the races in, then you can do that with a grinder. Bench grinder would work just fine. I've got a lathe, so I use it for this kind of thing, and I just keep all this stuff around. And just like this one here, I'd use that, I think, for installing rear axle seals on a car, and it just turned into a race installer for an F7. So all you got to do is modify it a little bit. If the next time I need it the other way, I'll just cut that off or whatever. So just keep all those little tools you make along the way. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.